will make up for lost time as long as the Astrazeneca COVID vaccine gets the all clear again later this week. The doctors leading Ireland's vaccine drive say that the suspension, which was announced early yesterday morning, is just precautionary as the European Medicines Agency investigates reports of blood clots. AstraZeneca has said in the last 24 hours that there's no evidence its vaccine is the cause of the clots that are at the centre of this story. There were plans to inoculate 80,000 people in Ireland this week, but with only Pfizer and Moderna vaccines being used, that forecast has been cut to 50,000. That's 50,000. Let's get some reaction to this. Dr. Martin Daly is a former president of the Irish Medical Organisation and a GP in Ballygar in County Galway, and he's with me on the line. Thank you, Dr. Daly, for taking the call. So then, what is your reading of this decision by the National Immunisation Advisory Committee to suspend or pause the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine?
Good morning, Joe. I think it's an ultra-cautious approach. I think a red flag went up from Norway. And until those cases are explained or an explanation has been given that doesn't connect them to the administration of the AstraZeneca vaccine, the National Immunisation Advisory Committee here have decided to withdraw AstraZeneca temporarily. And I have to say that, you know, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. I think that I think people should be heartened that they have taken such a decisive action, and that it would give confidence that if there is any doubt about the safety profile of a vaccine, that they're willing to act immediately, even if it is to dent the confidence, the general confidence in this vaccine, which unfortunately that's going to happen. So there's a big job of work here. Firstly, the European Medicines Agency needs to investigate and to confirm or to disassociate this vaccine from those adverse events from this group of healthcare workers in Norway who received the vaccine.
All right.
And it is a cluster and it can happen.
All right, but this ultra-cautious approach, they're your words now, not mine, that you refer to. People find it difficult to understand how in our nearest neighbour, with over 23 million people vaccinated, they're taking the steady-as-she-goes approach. And while that continues, people on this side of the pond will ask, well, why? Why can we not follow their example?
Well, I think that firstly, you have a situation where a number of jurisdictions within Europe have withdrawn this vaccine temporarily. And I think that we are a different jurisdiction with a different culture. And you don't have to have a long memory to remember the recent public health scandals that have been associated with this state. And I think we have been marked by that, and our approach to those issues are different than the UK. I mean, the UK is only now deciding to compensate victims of hepatitis C blood transfusion infections 30 years later. We have done and dusted that 15 years ago. So, I mean, there is a different culture in the UK in terms of litigation, in terms of profile. So we are a different jurisdiction. So I do think that whilst it is regrettable and it is disappointing, I would prefer that we were cautious in this area. Now, I would take heart from the fact that 17 million vaccines of AstraZeneca have been administered internationally. And the company have come out to say that there is no association with blood clotting disorders and with blood clotting disorders and the administration of the vaccine. But, you know, the European Medicines Agency is an independent regulatory body, and, you know, that's where they're the people who license this vaccine. So, yes, look, there is a different approach between the two jurisdictions, but there is also a different culture and a different history in relation to public health scandals.
And we also know that blood clots are not a rare occurrence, and we know that so far the number of, if I can call them, clotting events in vaccinated people is no higher than in the general population. And that's an important statistic to put forward. But Doctor, what advice do you have for those listening this morning that have received the Astrazeneca vaccine?
Look, if you've received the Astrazeneca vaccine at this point, it is a highly effective vaccine against the COVID. And we have to put this into context about a pandemic which is essentially slowed down or shut down the economies of many countries and has been a cause of death and hardship, health hardship for many millions of people. So we have to put it in that context. This is 4 reported cases out of 17 million vaccines. So people who have received this vaccine have to be assured that, firstly, this is a highly effective vaccine against COVID. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, if they had the usual short-term minor side effects that are associated with vaccination, such as aches and pains, sweat, sometimes a fever, feeling tired, and that has passed off, then the likelihood of them developing anything more serious than that is absolutely minuscule. And that's in the context of 17 million vaccines administered worldwide. So if people have issues that are significant, and I don't mean the normal aches and pains in the 24 hours, 48 hours afterwards, where they can take paracetamol and fluids and rest, I mean something very significant like severe headache, a fever that is sustained and doesn't go away and not relieved by the normal interventions like paracetamol or Nurofen or something of that ilk, then make contact with your own GP. But I mean, a number of people that I know have received AstraZeneca, and they phoned me and said, look, what do we do? And I said, do nothing. You're lucky. You've had a vaccine that is highly effective against COVID. There is an issue around a reported 4 cases in Norway. It is not confirmed, and as a precautionary matter, it has been transiently removed from administration. And we hope to have answers within days, shorter than a week, and that's what we've been assured.
All right, but are there specific signs or symptoms that people should be aware of in relation to a blood clot?
Yeah, okay, that's a more specific question. Absolutely, Joe. I think, okay, in relation, they're saying that these blood clots occurred in the head. Now, we don't know specifically where they occurred, so that information hasn't come out, okay? So look, if someone suffered from severe headache, unremitting pain, or any signs of slurring of speech, disturbed vision, anything like that, then I think they should make contact. And then that's in the immediate aftermath of, I would say, 72 hours or so after receiving the AstraZeneca vaccine. Most of those people who received AstraZeneca have received them over the last month. Anyone who had minor symptoms over a couple of days and have dealt with those and are past that should not be concerned. This is in relation to a reaction of people who received the vaccine in the immediate aftermath and developed these, and we don't know if it's a causative effect, develop these issues in the aftermath of receiving the vaccine. And we need to find that out. And that information will be based in the context of the huge amount of this vaccine that has been administered in the UK, but also in the context of 17 million vaccines. So there should be a reasonable, a good way for the European Medicines Association to either dissociate this vaccine from this particular, or was this a coincidental cluster?
All right. Just may I ask, in relation to your own practice, and I know you're working in premises, temporary premises, after that recent fire at your surgery in Ballygar. But were you due to administer vaccines this week, and were you due to administer the AstraZeneca vaccine this week?
No, we did administer vaccine on Saturday. 2 weeks ago we administered to 120 of our 84-year-olds and up. We had some additional vaccine, so we were able to vaccinate our 84-year-old cohort. And on Saturday we vaccinated 84 of our 80 to 83-year-old group, and we received our vaccine on time. and our patients were absolutely delighted to receive that vaccine, and it was the Pfizer vaccine that we administered, which is a different type of vaccine, but we were very happy to administer it, and we look forward to vaccinating the rest of our over 70s. We understand, and I have to say, people, it's very, very difficult. 12 months into this, it's difficult to believe. People are tired, they're frustrated, their lives have been put on hold. Young people are suffering from all sorts of mental health issues around anxiety, apprehension, depression. So it has been an extraordinarily difficult year, and I can understand people's frustration. But we are at the beginning of the end, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. And we do need to show patience. There is a supply issue around vaccines, but I fully expect that by the summer end, everyone who needs a vaccine will have been vaccinated, and that we will phase out of this pandemic into a better future. But we do need patience, and now is the time for that patience, even though people have been tested to the very edge of their, to the very edge of their patience.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Dr. Martin Daly, GP in Ballygarn, County Galway, and a former president of the Irish Medical Organisation. Thank you indeed for that.